What's up, chiropractors? Heck, I hope this reaches chiropractic students who are about to become chiropractic startups, and you get this little mini TED Talk about the four most common issues, problems, subluxations, interferences that chiropractors who start up and run practices really jack things up with when it comes to hiring team, getting help, and also known as not trying to freaking do everything yourself and staying limited in the size and impact of your practice by doing so, and expanding your burnout, expanding your frustration, limiting your vacation, limiting your time with your family, limiting your time at the gym, doing life, having fun, whatever you want to do. If you make these four mistakes, which, man, especially when we lay out number one in just a second, I find that literally 90% of chiropractic entrepreneurs, business owners, practice owners make this mistake, and you're going to see how these go. There's a sequence to these four subluxations, just like the perfect storm, just like maternal prenatal stress and birth trauma are the major players, even though they kind of go on the list of things that cause kids to get sick, like overuse of antibiotics and all the other things. They're not just the same. The initial subluxation creates that vicious perfect storm that leads to challenges with the others. So man, if you're a student and a startup and you get to watch this early and see these problems coming, and this is a prevention training for you and guide that you get to download. Our team is going to turn this into a pretty rad PDF written guide. This video is just to make it even more immersive to you guys with this free content. But yeah, this is going to change everything for our profession if we can get out of our own way. So let me get started. And by the way, if you are started and you're making all four of these mistakes, come on, homie, you're fine. The fact that you're now going to know, it's exactly like all of the patients over all the years who sit across from you and go, man, I wish someone had told me sooner. Well, you didn't get that, just like they don't get that. But that day that they're sitting down with you starting chiropractic care, this is that day. You're starting to learn with this exactly what creates unbelievable, ridiculous practice growth that never slows down. You get to expand exponentially your impact into your community and your income and your take home by investing in other people, okay? So it's you first, procedures and systems second. Yes, I can give you a binder, give you a manual, but it's people on your team. It's CAs and associates, and we are under invested in them as a profession in a big way. And we are going to really drive with our company, the Pediatric Experience. We're going to drive this message into the profession with everything we've got so that we stop this major subluxation holding our profession back, and we invest like so many other industries within healthcare have, and pour into not just marketing, but pour into people. So let me get started. Subluxation number one is the big one. You wait too long to even get started. Now, I'm not even going to go into the reasons in an expansive way. I'm just going to list them because you probably are them, so you know them, feel them well. You're fearful of the payroll. You're fearful of the money first and foremost. You are in protective mode financially, which is why if you stay there, your practice won't grow financially, because the Bruce Lipton quote that we use for our clinical scientific care, you can't be in growth and protection at the same time. So subluxation, sympathetic dominance, we get our patients and kids out of protection so they go into growth and healing mode. How do you think your practice works, home slice? If you stay in financial protection, I have all these loans, I have rent, I have utilities, I have software, I bought a scanner, I got this, I got that, I don't have the margin. Yes, you do. You don't not have the margin to grow if you don't invest in people to help you out. So if you wait too long, what that is called is limiting. What that is called is setting up huge challenges down the road, because if you wait too long to hire, you're definitely not going to have the time, and you're not going to have the energy, and you're not going to have the plan, and you're not going to have the space in your schedule to then train and onboard your CAs and your associates appropriately. Most people do number one, which leads to number two. They hire somebody, they're like, you're great. Okay, go get him, Tiger. And there's no structure. There's no onboarding because you're burnt out. Because if you did number one, you're going to do number two. Because you're burnt out. So hear me out. If you did number one and you're like, well, what do? I can't go back in time and do this early. No, you can't. But you need to make the time for onboarding. Before you hire your CA, before you hire your associate, no matter what it takes, no matter what you have to sacrifice. Yes, I'm going to use that word because it's freaking real. For 90 days. Because if you carve out the time and you commit to the time to onboarding and training your CAs and your docs that first 90 days, and you pour into them in a complete and full manner, you will then have them for 9 years. 90, you're not young enough to probably have 90 years of someone on your team, but you will have the long-term gain if you just take a little bit of short-term pain to train and onboard. Now, real quick aside, kind of cool thing. At the end, I'll talk about how rad it would be to have for you, and then it was us too, because we're so on freaking mission with this company, to have y'all jump into the pediatric experience. But one thing we realize is how big of a subluxation, how much this does not happen. I hate doing that, I'm being honest. Like, what I just said is exactly what we all have to do, and I no longer do it, okay? Because I've trained other people to train and do the onboarding. So I have doctors on my team who onboard and train our new doctors. I have CAs on my team who onboard and train the CAs. So since I've trained them to do it, we actually created a training program that is available to our PX members where we train CAs and associate doctors for our crew. So quick aside, there is now in the future of this profession, if you're a PX member, you have access to those training and onboarding courses where we literally, the best of the best CAs and associates, because again, I'm just going to say it, our CAs are freaking world class, our associates are world class, so they will train with you, and 75% of it, honestly, for you, your CAs. Number 3, I made this mistake. So we actually never made mistake number 1 and number 2. We were very blessed to have some incredible business mentors who knew about investing in team and leadership. So even though Christina, I graduated with $175,000 of school debt. I bought a building in 2007, right before real estate crashed in that thing, for $400,000. And then I borrowed another $125K to put equipment and, all the startup things into it. So I was, $700,000, $800,000 invested into I wasn't in debt, never been in debt. I was that much invested into the future impact of this community through PwC in our practice. By nature of being that invested, Christina and I knew, and we were also blessed to have a baby 2 weeks before we graduated, so we knew that we didn't want to do it all ourselves, so we hired a CA right out of the gates. But what we completely screwed up for literally, I just have to admit the truth, 7 going on 8 years, let's just round up a freaking decade we made this mistake. I thought the way I could get my CAs and my associates to kick ass and take names is if I just hung enough big gold carrots out in front of them. I am a stat sheet guy. I love to run my practice and make solid decisions based upon data and math and metrics. I have dashboards, I've got spreadsheets, and they're ridiculously important as a secondary feature of decision making and team hiring and team motivation. What I will tell you, what the slide doesn't say, is what the way to do it is. The way to do this is not that, thinking that if you we pay our team exceptionally well. We have goals and incentives and money. Okay, this is part of it, but the problem, the subluxation, what it is all about, or I could have probably wrote this one out as first about. See, our people kick ass on our team because they are mission, vision obsessed, core values and culture 100% match. Like when we think of it like a Tom Cruise mission, like when they walk through the door and the mission, vision, culture scanner scans their eyes, or does their HRV is probably a better way of saying it. The HRV comes back and goes, in the green, these are the right people. They're the right humans in their character and their obsession for impact to be on your team. And then we pay them freaking well. Okay, so know it in the right order, and you will never, ever, ever, ever run into a problem with team where you have constant turnover. What this led to, I should give you the problem within the problem, this led to constant turnover on our team, which was the most frustrating ownership era of our time for literally going on a decade, where Christina and I were literally like, how could this doctor not be the happiest, most grateful, bust their ass person in the world with what he's getting paid or what they're getting paid? It makes no sense. It did make sense. They weren't on mission. They didn't want to work for the impact. They wanted to work for the income. I'm looking for people on the team who will work their ass off for the impact and then know that by creating that level of impact, the income is going to come like they've never seen. There's an order to it. There's a sequence to it. Don't make the mistakes we made. And number 4, the real productivity of an organization, which is more dependent upon the people than the procedures, processes, system softwares. I love systems. We got binders for days. I love software. We got CLA, we got SCAD, we got Intake Q. We got software that freaking crushes and slays it for us because we've got humans that operate it for us. And we have a ridiculously solid org chart, and really it's an accountability chart. We have clearly defined roles with clearly defined tasks and things that need to get done each day, each week, each month, each year, that each person on the team knows they're responsible for. And there is a key metric, and there's a key KPI. So again, 3 matters, just not most first, just to hit that one more time. So we have an org chart that is absolutely beautiful, and it says this is exactly what you do, rockstar, in this seat on this bus, because you're the right person on the bus to begin with. We found you the exact right seat that matches your green zone, your get after it, lays into your strengths and avoids your weaknesses. You don't need strengths finders, by the way. It's not that freaking complicated. Like, you know how people are built. Put them in the place that they are meant to succeed. And sometimes you got to move them. You got to let them get going and go, okay, you're better over here. You're perfect for the team. Let's go. They know exactly what they're supposed to do, and they know exactly the KPI that then reports back to us as the owners and leaders of the team that says they're getting it done and they're getting it done well. If you do 1, 2, 3, I pray for you if you're doing all 4, because then that's you. If you're doing even one of these, this is you to some degree. If you're doing all 4 of these, this is you to the nth degree of burnout, frustration, and you either are definitely doing it all yourself because you haven't invested in people yet, that you've let that fear, that overhead, that misplaced perception hold you back. It doesn't even make sense mathematically, by the way, because if you're trying to do everything yourself, you're doing literally like 80 to 90% of it, or all of it, like half-ass at best. So your productivity of your practice as a whole is not whole-ass, it's half-ass. Sorry for my English here. Hopefully you're not watching this for the kiddos. I just get really passionate about everything to do with chiropractic. And this is a thing that will catch this profession on fire when we stop making these 4 mistakes. And what happens, the reason people look at me and they're like, how do you have that practice and 4 kids and the farm and PX and have all this energy and have all this time? Because we have all these people. We not only have all these people, we hire early, never late. We never hire and hope. We train and onboard every single time. We do not make it about money only. We make it about mission first, and we pay freaking fantastically as a result because they tear the cover off the mission ball alongside of us every single day. And they know exactly, speaking of alongside of us, they know exactly where they need to be and what they need to be doing. And we have a system that keeps them on track, keeps them accountable, keeps them productive. And that's exactly what it is. The opposite of this slide is a system. And that entire team, leadership, systems system, including every single 10 to 20 hours of training videos like this for owners, including, oh my goodness, it's really a playbook. It's an entire set of PDFs. All of our paperwork, all of our systems, all of our binders are turned into PDFs and a playbook that goes to our other PX practice owners that are members of the Pediatric experience so that they know exactly from the very beginning and all the way through how to do this. This today was a punch you in the face with the problem and let you see exactly where you're holding your impact and your income and your freedom and your joy and all the good things you want back, and then how to get them. Because the opposite of making these mistakes is how to get them. But from this, each of these things that I spoke to on the opposite, exactly how to hire and who to hire and when to hire, that's a whole thing. Exactly how to onboard and how to train and the whole system to do it, that's a whole thing. Exactly how to pay, so contract structure, bonus programs, that's a whole thing. We have all those things. Org charts, accountability charts, the KPIs, the tasks, the project management, how to do it, that's a whole thing. Within a thing, we have all that inside one thing called the Pediatric Experience Membership. It is the ridiculously most impactful thing that has ever hit this profession, because it starts with training you from a scientific, certain, and clinical skill set on how to take care of kids and families. Then we train you on communication and marketing, and then we finish the job with this, what we call category of team, systems, and leadership. Basically, it's an entire freaking course for chiropractors when it comes to team, leadership, and systems inside of a membership. If we pulled it out and made the 15 to 20 hours of content and training we have just about this, team and leadership and systems, and we could probably sell that course, I don't know, $3,000, $5,000 is kind of the online course range. You get it all for the membership. That is $95 a month for startups and $195 for doctors, and it has everything else: clinical, adjusting, communication, and all the other things in addition to this. So it would be silly for you to not invest in that. If you just need help from me and our crew on one of these things, that $195 will be the best money you ever spent, because you're going to open the hood to the Pediatric Experience membership, and you're going to not ever understand why we put so much in there for such little cost. But I'll let you in on it. If you believe me, this is as true as can be, because we need to change this freaking profession from the inside out so we can reach millions of kids with pediatric chiropractic practices full of people, not just chiropractors, so we can literally change healthcare by changing the kids' health from the inside out. So we're never going to price you out of getting all the things you need to blow up your freaking practice. Love you. Thanks for watching my TED Talk on the 4 most common subluxations within chiro teams. Do the opposite of all these things, and you'll be the happiest chiro camper in all of the land. And the way to learn how to do the opposite is get into the Pediatric Experience membership. Wherever you found this, there will be a URL. There will be a link with the offer to do so. Click that link, name, card. Let's go.